What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rock and Road to Success. Today, we're having the first ever jam session with the one and only my friend from Australia, Redim Ameti. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? I'm happy to be your first guest.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. We were just talking to your uncle right now, and you told me you guys speak Albanian at home. How's that?
Yeah, Albanian is an interesting language. I don't think it takes too much from the other Yugoslavian type languages compared to some other languages. I'm not super knowledgeable in the whole etymology and how it's different, but it's a nice language. It flows.
And have you ever been to Albania?
Nah, nah, I'd love to go. It's on top of the bucket list.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I've seen some
Yeah, the,
pictures.
the beaches, and it's a good digital nomad spot apparently. So perfect.
And how was it growing in an immigrant family in Australia?
Oh,
Was it any
get
different from your friend's experience? What do you
yeah,
think?
getting right into it, right into the deep stuff. Um, there's a movie in Australia. Do you know what WOG means?
Sorry, what?
Have you ever heard the term WOG?
Wug? No.
Yeah, WOG. Okay. I think it might be an acronym, but essentially it's sort of a derogatory word for European.
Hmm.
European immigrants are typically called WOGs. I'm Googling it as we speak. Okay, so it's a person who is not white, apparently. So a foreigner or immigrant, especially one from Southern Europe. But anyway, there's a movie called Wog Boy, and it's about this Greek boy who is a Wog, and it's like a really dramatized version of what it's like growing up European in Australia. So I recommend anyone check that out. Like that, if you watch that and you're also a Wog, there's so many like parallels that you see. I'm having trouble like picking things out from from my upbringing, but I'll tell you, I didn't learn English until I was in primary school, basically, which I don't know how Brazilian school works, but primary school is parallel to elementary school, I believe. So that was
So you were
interesting.
like,
Like, yeah, probably like four or five. We didn't speak much English at home, if any, so I had to like pick it up on the go. So I felt kind of like behind, but I picked it up all right, I think. Now it's like
oh, you
it's
sure
my
did.
yeah, now it's my native language. I speak English better than I do Albanian. So, yeah.
Yeah, you sure do, man. I guess it's a pretty regular thing in America. They also do this, especially with the Spanish speaking guys. Many of them don't even know how to speak Spanish, but
Really?
they do English. Yeah, really.
Yeah, wow. That doesn't
They're
surprise me. Like a lot of the new generation Albanians that are like in my community, now they don't learn Albanian at all, and they just learn English to the detriment of all the grandparents. Like they're like these kids nowadays, they don't speak their mother tongue. Um, but I guess you got to teach them, right? There has to
Yeah, I'd be
be.
pissed if my kids didn't learn Portuguese. I'd sure as hell make them learn, man.
Yeah.
Because or
It's up
else
to the
they wouldn't be
parents.
able to talk to my mom or something. So
Yeah, yeah. It's actually interesting seeing how like some of the young kids communicate with their grandparents and that don't speak English because they're immigrant grandparents, and it's kind of like how I imagine, not how I imagine, but like when I've traveled to Italy or Thailand and I don't speak the language and there's like a lot of Google Translate involved. It's literally like that within the family. It's weird, but it's interesting.
and you were speaking about Italy and Thailand. What's your favorite place you've ever been?
I really love this. I think it's Catania. Catania. it's in southern Italy. I hope I'm getting the name right because it's been so long since I went there. Yeah, it's in Sicily. Just this tiny little town, tiny little beach town. So peaceful and it's what you imagine Italy to be like, or southern Italy anyway. That was my favorite spot. I didn't spend long there, but I remember feeling like, oh yeah, I definitely need to come back here and spend more time here. That was
Yeah,
super
it's no
nice.
wonder it's a blue zone and they live forever.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I think they might have like that general area has some records for longevity, or they're
Yeah,
up
they
there at
do.
least.
Like their lifestyle is very healthy. They walk a lot. They have a lot of community. Their diet is awesome.
Yeah.
So they live for like 90, 100 years easily.
Yeah, you've done a lot of traveling yourself, dude. I've barely done any traveling, but you've seen the whole world, I feel like, right? We haven't talked about this much, but
Oh, not the whole world. I still need to go to Asia and Australia
yes.
and Africa. I was just in Morocco for a day. I did a day trip when I was in Spain.
Nice.
So we saw that we were in Sevilla and it was like 200 kilometers from the beach, and we took a ferry from the beach and we did
Hell
it all
yeah.
in a day just
Why
so we
not?
could say that we went to Africa.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can relate. When I was in Italy, I did a day trip to Paris, or a night trip. I took an overnight train to Paris. Just basically, I had like one spare day where I had nothing planned in Milan. So I was like, all right, let's just take a train to Paris. Took the overnight train, took the overnight train back, and then left to Milan for whatever the next destination was the next day. Barely had any time to do anything, but it was like just to check it off the list.
Yeah,
So I can
that's a
relate.
very common theme in Europe when people go there because it's so easy to go from a place to the other. But
Yeah,
Milan and Paris are pretty far away from each other.
it was
Should
a
be like
very
1,000 kilometers or something like that.
yeah, the whole overnight journey was required to get there in time. I don't remember how long it was, but it was you could get a full sleep in. Um, it was a very spontaneous decision, so it wasn't like, oh, this is convenient, let's do this. I was like, oh, I've got a day left. I wouldn't mind checking out Paris.
Well, I guess it was totally worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I haven't been to Europe since, and it's nice to say that I've been to Paris, and it was a fun day. So
Yeah,
I say
these
it was worth it.
impromptu trips are the best.
Yeah. Damn, this conversation is really making me want to look at Google Flights afterwards.
Yeah, that's the whole point here to give you some wanderlust and make you want to travel, become a digital nomad.
Oh damn it! I didn't
Like,
get the memo, but I'm all for it.
yeah,
um,
man, we've talked about this already. And what do you think? Like a couple of years down the road, do you think you will be a digital nomad?
well, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like a cool lifestyle, but to me, like maybe long-term travel is more of an attractive option. I like having a home base, and like I'm pretty comfortable where I am in Australia. Like I have a pretty stable routine, but I wouldn't mind venturing into like digital nomad hubs for maybe a month or two at a time and just checking them out and like cosplaying that lifestyle just for a little bit.
And then going back to Australia?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think sometimes like spending a couple of years or 2 or 3 years living for a month or two in different places, and then maybe coming back home, or if I decide I love somewhere and it stayed there forever, who knows?
Were you doing that? Were you digital nomading when you were doing your
No, no,
travels?
I lived in Germany. I worked there. I did an
Ah,
internship for a year,
okay.
and then it's really easy to travel in Europe, so I got to see a lot of random countries. I went to Ukraine to go to Chernobyl. We did
Wow.
some crazy shit.
What was that like? Chernobyl.
Dude, it's like a ghost town. It kind of looks like a movie when you go there because it's all abandoned and they take you to some quote unquote forbidden places.
Wow.
Like there's an old supermarket with some stuff still there, and they take you
Wow.
to a school, like a preschool for little children. And you know those masks for, when you
The
picture the
radiation.
radioactivity stuff, yeah, you
Yeah.
think of those masks. And actually they didn't even use them at the time, but they spread the mask through the city just to get that vibe of like a
Oh,
movie,
really?
like a
Really, like
haunted house
after the
kind of thing.
fact,
Yeah,
like a
they put it
prop.
up later. At the time, they didn't
Wow.
really use them
Well,
because
gotta make
they
use of it
didn't.
somehow.
Dude, it's so weird, man. Because they didn't
Damn.
actually tell the people what was happening at the
I
time.
only learned about this recently after the Last of Us show came out. I was like, this is really good. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about, The Last of Us?
Yeah, I played the game, but I didn't watch the show.
Yeah, not to pivot, this is related. So the director of that show also made the Chernobyl miniseries, so I checked that out after watching The Last of Us because I wanted more of that vibe. And I'm sure I might have learned about the Chernobyl disaster in high school, but I'd forgotten basically all the details. But watching the dramatized version was like eye-opening, dude. How they just all the people in positions of power just turned a blind eye and denied what was happening until it was too late. It's just, it's nutty. I'm not sure how historically accurate it was, but I'm pretty sure it was close,
Yeah, I
if
didn't
not bang
actually
on.
watch the show, but yeah, it was. They fucked up in so many levels, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this
it's
shouldn't have
nuts.
happened. It took a lot of incompetence to get where they got. And then
Yeah.
after the fact, I mean, I'm not sure they had much of an option really. They like if they told the guys what was really happening, it would become like this terrible nightmare. Everyone would go crazy, so they just tried to
Yeah.
evacuate as quick as possible.
Yeah, it's what a wild thing to have happened in history. But wilder stuff has happened and will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, shit happens like First Gump would say.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you went to Chernobyl. Yeah, no, you figured out the right you that's the hack. You just live in Europe for a while and you get to see all of Europe while you're there because you can just zip around like nobody's business essentially.
Oh yeah, it's
Could
definitely
probably
a hack because you can do like weekend trips. It's very easy to like for instance, I had to work I think 35 hours a week, but anything I did above that, I could take off in free time. So I took like 20 days of extra time while I was there, apart from the vacation time. So I really had a lot of time to, because I always did a
wow.
lot of overtime.
Hell
So I
yeah, dude.
compensated with traveling.
Dude, why not? Yeah, man, that's yeah, and that this is inspiring wanderlust because you can't do that in Australia. I mean, you can go to New Zealand. That's cheaper than going interstate. For some reason, I don't know if it's always cheaper, but the the domestic travel in Australia is unreasonably expensive, it feels like. But we overpay for everything. That's just the way it is. Um, yeah, I don't know why,
Yeah,
but
I
not to
want to
turn this
go.
into a sob story, but definitely come check it out. It's not as bad as I've just made it out to be.
Oh no, yeah, I want to ask you about cost of living and how it is to live in Australia. But here in Brazil as well, many times it's easier to go to the States or to Europe than to travel inside Brazil because it's pretty much the same price.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a good cost of living hack living with your parents. Uh, so it's not too bad, but yeah, it could get expensive. You can get pricey around these streets.
Like, for instance, if you go to a restaurant, how much would you normally pay?
Ooh, good question. You're going to be paying like at least 25 for your meal. Most places, 20 to 25. Then if you want a drink, probably $7 to $10 on top as a baseline. But obviously, depending on the type of restaurant too, you could probably get a little bit cheaper than that some places. Most places might actually be a bit more expensive than that. Yeah, I don't know. Does that give you an idea?
Yeah, yeah. Well, but are the salaries good there or are the things just expensive?
I feel unqualified to comment on this, to be honest with you.
Like your
um,
general
p-
perception, like
General
do you
perception
get
is
bang for your buck?
I don't think so. I think like the Australian dream is to own a home, and that seems to be the general sentiment is that seems to be out of reach for most of the current generation. But it's
Just
not
like in
impossible. Like,
America.
but that's yeah, but that's the general sentiment that like if you go on Australian subreddits, uh, that's the feeling you get. Everyone feels like we ain't owning a home anytime soon. That was for our parents.
It's fucked up, man.
It is what it is.
Yeah, do you get the feeling that our generation was fucked up by the boomers? I see that a
Um,
lot in American circles.
Maybe I try not to think in terms of how my generation is victimized because I have no control of what happened in the past. Maybe, but yeah, I like to focus on what I can control until we
It's
build a
much
time
better.
machine.
We should build a time machine and go to the future
We
with all of
should.
the robots and
Yeah.
who
Let's get
knows? Maybe we won't have to work or we will be enslaved by
Yeah, maybe
the
UBI will be
machines.
a
Who
thing.
knows?
And
I think it will be kind of inevitable to have some kind of UBI in the future, in the very
yeah.
near term, actually.
Yeah, once everything is automated, we don't need humans to do our jobs.
Yeah, we're not so far away from that. If you think like 2030, we will
Yeah,
have a great shift.
it's scarily close.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you think ChatGPT or any AI in the beginning of the year and what it does now, like it can literally see now, it can hear, it can do anything.
Yeah, dude, I've been talking to ChatGPT recently for the first time. I've been making use of that feature on the phone app, and that is super handy
Yeah,
because now it's like just removes a bit of friction. I can make my prompts less thought out and just more impromptu. I can just I have it shortcutted, so when I turn on my home screen on my phone, there's a ChatGPT icon under my clock. I just click that, press the voice memo, 2 clicks. Hey, need help with this, and I can put a rambling, incoherent sentence into it, and it turns it into what I need. It's perfect. So good.
dude, it's bizarre. I tried it for the first time last week and it is amazing, really. I think the only thing they should change is that when you're speaking to it, if you stop for like half a second, it thinks you ended your prompt. So
Oh,
you need to
really?
kind of yeah, you need to kind of ramble on and do something like just so it thinks you're still speaking
So there's
because
always audio
otherwise
input.
Yeah, otherwise it thinks you're done and it's like it thinks the prompt is done. And sometimes you're just thinking what's next and you're not done. So
Ah, I
if
haven't
they
run
let
into that
you,
problem yet, but I'll make sure to always keep some going when I'm
yeah, I
prompting
was
it.
trying to make like a longish prompt or speak a lot of things to it at a time. And it started prompting halfway through the prompt, it thought I was done. But maybe if they just let you have a setting that, I don't know, give it 1 second or two before you think I'm done, and that I think that would solve the problem.
Sam Altman, get on it, buddy. I know you're listening.
Yeah, dude,
Fix your app.
let us change the fucking settings.
Yeah.
No, but really, yesterday, have you used the visual feature yet? I was using it
I
just
haven't.
yesterday.
I haven't. I was talking about it with someone the other day, but I'm yet to use it. Do you rate it?
Dude, I threw the pictures of my notes from yesterday, and it really does read really well.
Oh,
Like,
you
not
actually, I
perfect,
just
but
remembered. I have used it one time. I uploaded an infographic into it and I asked it a question about it, and yeah, also it worked perfectly. But dude, that is such a good idea. So for the spaces that we do, you mean, or just notes in
yeah, yeah,
general?
yeah, for the spaces because it will take me so long to like summarize and put something out, and it helped me so much. Like,
Wow,
of
that
course,
is a game changer.
it is because that's why I didn't finish the notes from last week because it
Well,
was just too much work.
also in addition to that, that was a quite a long episode. So
Yeah, we'd have to write a book on that if we
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to note everything down.
Yeah, I mean, that whole space was for people listening for your benefit. Gabe and I host two spaces a week on X, and basically, if you don't know what spaces are, it's unlikely, but just a quick explainer. It's basically the source code for Periscope dragged into Twitter, and think of a Discord call, a group call where anybody that has an X or Twitter account can request to be a speaker within your space. And we host two of these a week on various topics. And last week, I don't even know what the topic of choice was, but we went on for quite a while. How long did we go for, Gabe?
12 hours, 34 minutes, or something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't there for
Yeah.
all of it because we started at 9 p.m. my time. I stayed on for 3 hours. I went to sleep, and I get a notification when I wake up. Wake up, Redim Ameti is what the name of the space changed to. Like, these guys are still going. And to my surprise, we reached 12 hours by the end of it. It was nutty.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to do that. It wasn't the objective. I think the initial name of it was Idea A/B testing with AI.
That's right.
But after you went out, there were still a lot of people in the room, so I thought, let's keep this going for a while. And then the people went out of the room, and there was this time when I was pretty much alone because there were other people, but they were silent and they didn't want to speak or they couldn't speak or maybe they forgot they were there. So I just started like reading out my notes just to keep it alive. And suddenly some other guys popped in and we started talking again. And then Sassy came back and then Gonzalo came back. And then I thought, wow, maybe we could wait for Redim to wake up. Started becoming the objective in my mind. So
Oh my
I
god.
changed the name to Wake Up Redim. And you did wake up and he did come back and we
Yeah.
spent another few hours with you again. And then you went away again and then we spent another hour.
Um, that sounds like it would have been good speaking practice, though. Just actually, when you were describing that, I'm like, I wouldn't mind trying that. Just doing a pop up space. So for people, yeah, I guess no one would really know this. I've recently joined Toastmasters. I want to become a better speaker. And I feel like that would be a good way to just be able to speak for longer periods of time without feeling like you run out of things to say. Like, just start a space with no preparation, no promo, don't invite anyone, and just wait for people to join and just talk. You're not allowed to stop. That seems like a fun challenge. I'm going to try that, I think.
Dude, I kind of did that not on purpose,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, I really felt that way. Like on the weekend, I went to my girlfriend's place and I had to, talk to her parents and her brothers and nephews. And I felt like I was much more charismatic and outgoing after that experience than I was in previous times.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts you on the spot to develop the gift of the gab, as they say. Yeah, I think I feel that way too. Sometimes, especially hosting a space, when someone stops talking, I feel the responsibility to take back the mic and like sort of reset the room a little bit before passing it off to someone else, and it forces you to pay attention to what the current vibe is and who said what last. And sometimes there is nothing, like, I don't have a plan for how I'm going to finish this sentence, but you get there anyway. Because you're putting yourself on the spot. So it's a fun thing.
Yeah, you have to finish the sentence. You have to improvise. You can't let it die. So it really is a great exercise.
I'm going to try that. I want to feel how you felt on that 12.5 hour space when no one was there.
Dude, we should go for 24 hours next time.
Yeah, I think we ought to do that. We've got to do a 24-hour space. A friend of mine, Blaze, actually did a 40-hour space recently, I think. But she got to sleep in, like I did, and she handed it off to another host while she was sleeping, and then she came back and took back over, and I think it went for, the last I saw it was like 38, but I think she went for 40, which is nuts.
Yeah, I went into that space a few times, but there were times I went in and it was silent, so I don't think that counts.
Okay. Yeah, well, in that case, Blaze, we officially disqualify you from the record. Sorry.
Sorry, Blaze.
When I was in there, they were talking for the record, so I didn't know. Otherwise, I never would have given you credit.
Oh no, I went there many times. I saw they're talking too.
Yeah, we should do that, a 24-hour space where we actually try to keep it going the whole time. We can do shifts so that we don't ruin our sleep schedules beyond how bad they already are.
Dude, I think I could do 24 hours without sleeping.
I definitely could too. I don't know if I should. That's another question.
Definitely not. We shouldn't, but we could.
Yeah, that's another question.
Probably not worth it, but we could. But on the subject of public speaking, man, you told us you were doing Toastmasters and you became the Space's official talk show host lately. Yeah, man, I'd like you if you could talk to us about your journey with public speaking and dealing with anxiety to speak and maybe shyness. I don't know. What's your journey been like?
I thought it would be funny.
Yeah, now I put you on the spot. Yeah.
No,
that's exactly what.
So, I got offered by a friend of mine who's a pianist She does these concerts with a classical musician group a few times a year. And she asked me if I'd like to MC their next one. And I said, no, I have bad stage fright. I'm not going to do that. Uh, but then, literally the following day, call this a synchronicity, if you will. Another friend of mine asked me if I'd like to start Toastmasters together. And that was sort of on my bucket list for a while. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Like, learning public speaking is like, I feel like it's a skill everyone should have under their belt. As humans, we have times where, for better or for worse, that we have to speak to a crowd, whether it's at a funeral, at a wedding, and I want to be prepared for those times in my life. So I messaged my friend and I said, if the offer's still there, I'd like to MC your next concert. So that is yet to happen, but she said, yes, if you want to do it, the offer's still there. So I went to my first Toastmasters meeting, and it was like, it wasn't a normal Toastmasters session. It was a competition session where the speakers from that community were like battling it out, giving their like end of year or whatever speeches, and there wasn't much for newcomers to do, but it was a nicer way to get your feet wet, if you will. And then I discovered Spaces like literally a few days later. So I was nervous to go in and speak because I wasn't familiar with Spaces, but I just saw like these purple bubbles at the top of my X app, and I would every now and then click on it when I see someone familiar and I see a request to speak button, and it would be just like not for me. But then after I joined Toastmasters and I had this public speaking thing to look forward to, I sort of made it my unofficial mission to join as many spaces as I can. So that's what I've been doing, and you've dubbed me a talk show host now. I still have a bit of imposter syndrome with, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna go in here and try to be in the frame of mind that this is just a conversation with other people, and that's what I've been doing. So I've been joining a lot of spaces. We've been hosting a couple per week, and it's been really, really fun.
Yeah, dude, you don't come across as not knowing what you're doing at all. You,
Thank you for saying that.
yeah, you sound comfortable. I really like to hear you speak.
Thank you.
I don't think you need to have imposter syndrome about it. And
Thank you. You know
the
what
more
it
you
is?
do, the better you get.
I think it's I'm not afraid to swing and miss, but sometimes you miss. Like, sometimes you have moments that maybe that are easy to judge afterwards, where you feel like, oh, that was kind of cringe, or this is not a good way to think, but you're gonna do that. Like, when you put yourself out there, not everything is gonna go like completely smoothly, and before you actually put yourself out there, like, I'm the type of person where, like, I'll recklessly just do the thing and like take the action, but then I can be self-criticizing afterwards. So that's where the imposter syndrome kind of comes in a little bit, but I think it's quite normal, and I think you just have to remind yourself, okay, this is just part of the process. You got to put in the reps to get better. And yeah, I think we are our harshest critic. Like, I've received a lot of compliments on spaces. People have actually come to me for advice, and last night on our space, Christoph, he had come to me saying, hey, how do I get started with spaces? And I said, come through to our space. And he did, and he messaged me afterwards, and he said he had a good time, and he contributed, and I think he did pretty awesome. Like, he contributed to the discussion at the end, and it's like it's an easy way to get yourself out there and meet people as well. Network, it's a dirty word, but it's a good way to network. Last week we had Faizan. Actually, let's maybe not put him on blast. There was a funny moment. If you know, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Let's not.
in a good way. In a good way. It wouldn't really be throwing him under the bus, but it's probably not something to talk about on a podcast.
Yeah,
Faizan,
there are
if you
people
ever,
who
if you
shouldn't
ever
know
listen,
about what he did,
yeah,
but we know.
yeah, he did something. Did something.
He did something very badass. Very badass.
That he did.
Yeah, man. I get this as well. Like many people come to me later and say, "Oh, I had a blast. It was very chill." I think we have this very chill vibe on our spaces that people feel comfortable talking to us and talking to each other. And I think, call it law of attraction or just the algorithm, but we kind of attract very cool people, very chill people, and I'm really loving the experience.
Yeah, man. It's I sometimes I'm surprised like by the some of the people that pop into our spaces. Like I didn't expect to see you in my space, but I think that's it says a lot about the people that are already in our network because say when for people that don't know, like when you open Twitter, it shows you if someone you follow is in a space, even if they're not speaking, if they're just listening, that space will appear at the top of your X. So say someone who we don't follows someone that is in our space, then they will be advertised to jump in. So it's like it's a nice network effect in that sense. Do you get what I mean? Am I
Yeah,
making
yeah.
sense? Yeah, yeah, cool. Cool.
Yeah, I feel that way as well.
Yeah.
And it starts compounding. Like yesterday, we had 18 people at a time.
Yeah, from our first one where I don't know if we broke more than like five or six at a time.
Yeah,
It felt
probably
nice seeing
not.
a full room.
Yeah, it was like, wow,
Yeah,
all these
yeah,
people
no.
are here for us. It's like imposter syndrome popping.
Well,
Why the
like
hell are you here?
that I don't view it that way. I don't think they're there for us. I think we're
No, I'm
just
just
luck.
kidding. Of course.
Okay, yeah, you're being funny.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, just kidding.
but that's kind of what I love about it. It's like we just host it and then see where it goes. That's fun.
Yeah, you never know who's gonna show up. And we even got some big-ish accounts, like compared to us. Like Dave Meyer, he's like 10 times as big as us in terms of
Yeah, that's
followers.
right. Yeah. Um,
And he contributed a lot yesterday. It was very nice to hear
yeah.
him.
Whenever Dave's in a space, he always drops fire.
Dude, I loved his contributions also. I mean, everyone. Yesterday was a really great space. We could go on for 12 hours easily yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have. We had to force ourselves to stop yesterday's one. We had a hard out, and it was like it could have kept going, but we had to stop it where it did. But yeah, no, I love when Dave's in the space. He's always fun to banter with too. Aside from all the value that he drops, it's just always a good banter with him, which is nice. Like it's a social thing. Like it's social media, so there should be like an aspect of just chill. Like we're just chatting. So I like people that are just fun to hang with,
Yeah, yeah.
as opposed
I'd
to
love
just like
to.
just to switch it up from all the value.
Oh, yeah. Because then it gets like LinkedIn. It's like, oh, want to connect. Oh, I
Mm.
see you do this, and that. Oh, I have this service I can offer you. It's like a robot. Yeah, it's like just NPCs. I hate LinkedIn for this.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not turn X into LinkedIn.
Oh, please, for God's sake, don't. Like, I got into X because I wanted to check out AI news and all the new things. And I really didn't have any followers or friends until I went to that then cohort and started following you guys. And then you DM'd me, which was great because I think I just started cold DMing people yesterday.
Oh,
I
really?
was kind of too, yeah, I was kind of too shy to do that before. So I'm glad you did DM me, and we became friends, and now we're doing spaces together every week. And
Yeah,
so
man. I'm glad
cool.
I DM'd you too. It's like
Yeah, man, it was so good, man.
it's a
And
butterfly
now we
effect
have
thing.
a bunch of friends from all over, and this is
Really
the great thing
nice.
about X. I think you can meet people from all over the world and talk to them, and sometimes we feel a bit lonely because we are weird.
We're misfits.
We are. And it's good to know that there are more of us out there.
Yeah, it's nice to have a group of misfits. We start to not feel like misfits anymore.
Yeah, man. Because of course I have friends over here, but we have some things that we like together, but not everything. And I think on X we can find people that are more like compatible with us.
Yeah, I mean it's like there are certain things that I can talk to my real life friends about, and then there are certain things that if I talk to them about, I know I'm gonna bore them, and I don't want to do
Yeah.
that to them because I love my real life friends.
Yeah,
um,
like you can't go on a 3 hour rant about AI and
Personal
they'll be
branding
like,
and
yeah, like fuck you. Why do you
yeah,
want to know copywriting and internet marketing?
yeah, yeah. No, it's like it's just an avenue of finding your people. Um, it is very nice for that. Someone asked me. Actually, I was on another podcast yesterday. Um, I happened to be. I've never guested on a podcast before this week, and I happened to be a guest on two because of Spaces. Like I just know people from Spaces now, so I've been asked to be a guest twice in a week on two different podcasts. And the other podcast I was on, my buddy Mindrunner asked me what need do you think Spaces fulfills, and yeah, and I said basically the same thing. Like it's definitely the social. It's the most social media that I've come across so far. At least that I've personally used. It's not the first live audio feature within an app. There was Clubhouse, but I never used that. I don't think that was a very. I don't think it lasted very long. It was really popular for a moment. Um, but yeah, it's an easy way to find your people. Like people that are interested in the same things as you. You just flock to a space and make friends, and it's like, wow. I don't know. It's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah, Keith gave a great metaphor yesterday that it's like if you were in school and on the beginning of the year they all the clubs leave the doors open so you can take a peek. And Spaces is pretty much like that. It's like a bunch of rooms and you can take a peek, see if you enjoy the vibe, enjoy the people, the subject. And if you do, you can request to speak or not if you're shy. And if you don't, you can just switch rooms, run away. So I think Spaces has that vibe.
That's a cool analogy. I don't know how I missed that, but I did miss that. But that's a cool analogy, Keith.
Yeah, Keith always delivers tons of value.
Yeah. I know someone in real life that knows Keith, but we haven't been in a space together. And I was talking about Keith to my real life friend today, who knows Keith, and I was just saying how he's like a legit Renaissance person. He's got like the whole skill stack.
Dude, every time I talk to him, I discover something new. Like he was in the military for a bunch of years. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He runs marathons.
Makes music, writes
He
books,
he's
AI
a voice
enthusiast.
actor.
Yeah. Podcaster.
Dude,
Does it
he
all.
can do anything. And his brother is a legitimate hacker.
Oh, really? I know that he helped him with maybe he doesn't want that out there, but I didn't know that he hacks. That's cool.
No, no, I'm not sure if literally, but he's like this big computer whiz guy
Yeah.
that coder that knows everything. And Keith was telling like his brother helped him with something. I think it was with ChatGPT, like to get a bunch of files. I don't remember
Right,
the
right, right.
exact story.
For his story spinner. Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
free plug.
yeah.
Free plug. I know what you're referring to now. So Keith has a system that basically uses AI to help create an outline for an AI driven novel, and his brother basically collected an existing system that Keith had, and he mapped out the data in a way that is now able to interface much easier with ChatGPT. Yeah, now I know what you mean. Yeah, we're on the same
Yeah, and when
page.
he was telling the story, he was like, it was like a scene from a movie, and he came in and he started typing, and it was like the
Matrix
Matrix with
code.
all the numbers coming,
Yeah,
and like in 20 seconds he had the result.
yeah, that's awesome.
That was so funny, man. Him telling the story.
I hope to see him productize that. Uh, I I would consider using it myself. Like I feel like it would be fun to create your own novel without having to write it, without having to write the whole thing. I feel like there's a
Dude,
market for that.
there is, and I think he's trying to productize it. He wants to. I think he's like finding how to productize it, how to sell it, how to. He does talk about it on his profile sometimes.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Like,
We're
I
excited for
think his
you.
wife is nagging him. You need to charge for this
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
he does have.
when Alex Hormoz's advice to give away everything for free gets him in trouble with the wife.
Like the guy has a fantastic skill stack, so yeah, he
Yeah.
can charge for stuff.
Yeah, he should. He should.
And
Um
man, you were telling me before you wanted to start your own music podcast. So
oh
how's
no
that
no
idea?
I had a music podcast and I stopped working on it.
Oh
This
yeah.
was like this was like beginning the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. No, I've got that wrong. 2022, 2023. Anyway, that's not important. But yeah, I recorded like 4 episodes of a music podcast where I was just interviewing musician friends. But I gave up on it. I was like not really enjoying it that much. I enjoyed the conversations a lot, but I hated editing. I hated scheduling. Um, but I'm kind of looking forward to endeavoring on starting a podcast again because Spaces has made so much of that a lot easier. Both I feel like I won't feel the need to edit as much since I speak so much now, and I think I'm going to be a lot more comfortable with just being unfiltered. But also, I have access to a lot more people that I think would be interested on being in podcasts. Whereas I think a lot of music producers that I was reaching out to are like introverted people that don't really want to put themselves out there like that. So it was like unnecessary friction. So I was reaching out to a lot of people that were like, that's really cool, but not really my thing. Or a lot of people are just ghosting my requests, which is fair enough. Like, no one's obligated to be on your podcast, but it was kind of just discouraging. So I stopped working on that. But I'm excited to maybe start back up. And Gabe, you're going to be my first guest.
That's an honor, man. We're
Yeah.
losing our virginity together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Richard Branson right now.
Yeah,
We,
that's us.
we should go to outer space.
Popping out
Hopefully we will.
podcast cherries. Hey, you never know. Never say never.
Yeah, man. And I think you always end up skill stacking because you're learning better public speaking, you're learning editing, you're learning scheduling, you're building a business at the end of the day. So maybe there are some things that you learned at the time that you didn't even know would be useful. And you can just stack, get the micro levers, trade them in for a larger lever, like you like to say.
Yeah, yeah, potentially, man. No, I think you're right. There's this concept from MJ DeMarco's book Unscripted that I really like. Um, he says life is like a gumball machine. And actually, I have this up on the screen because I was hoping to bring it up because it's a really cool concept. So I'm gonna read directly instead of butcher it. He says life is like a gumball machine. It has white, orange, red, and golden gumballs in it. You can insert a coin, twist the handle, and a gumball comes out of the tube. Most gumballs are white. Then there are a few orange and red ones, and only one or two golden balls in the machine. The white gumballs symbolize business ventures you try to make work but don't yield any adequate feedback for iterating the product or service your venture offers. Red gumballs symbolize ventures that generate negative feedback, according to which you can either better your product or service, or give up the venture as a failed idea. Orange gumballs symbolize positive feedback. Your business starts to generate income, people like your product, but it's not a massive success. Golden gumballs symbolize the jackpot, a venture that masses and masses of people respond to. For example, if you solve a problem millions of people have, a golden gumball makes you rich. So I like to think of the podcast that I had as potentially a red gumball mixed in with a little bit of orange because it was fun to make and I gained a few skills from it. That's not directly adapting the idea, but that's how I see it.
And what could be a golden gumball for you?
I don't know. I really don't.
Like with your unique interests and skills you can acquire as well.
Figuring that out, man. That's really the goal, is to figure out what the golden gumball will be. And I try not to think about it too much. I'm just trying to explore and skill stack and follow the breadcrumb of feedback that the world gives me. I think that's, to me, that feels like the healthiest way to go about this creator journey that we've endeavored on. Is like, just keep trying stuff. Eventually there will be feedback that is better than the previous feedback you've gotten, and you can use that as a compass to begin moving further into that direction and just keep leaning into whatever that last thing was that was pinging you. So that's the idea, is just to keep trying stuff, like build a consistent habit out of it, creating, writing, communicating with others, seeing where you can actually fill in needs in the market.
Yeah, you know what they say, that when the student's ready, the master appears. So maybe by doing this, by improving continuously, sometime you'll get a DM from one of the big guys and he'll say, wow, I'd like to feature in your podcast, or could you write this for me, or whatever. We never know what might happen. We just need to increase our surface to get lucky. Because if you don't do anything, there are many people that are like, oh, I'm praying for this, I'm praying for that, but the person doesn't do anything about it. So you want the universe to give you things on a silver platter. That's not going to happen. You have to do it. Like, you have to put in the work. You have to do something about it. If you just wish for it, it won't happen.
It needs to make sense. There's a quote that I don't have up on my screen, but it's something along the lines of, the world is not yet a crazy enough place to give you what you want without deserving it. I think it's a Charlie Munger quote. I might not be getting that right, but that's a beautiful quote to me. It's a beautiful reminder. Like, things have to make sense. Like, you don't wish for things that, like, so far out without drawing the without it making sense,
Yeah, like, I want to be Mr. Olympia, but are you going to the gym every day? Are you, like, is your nutrition on par? Do you get enough sleep? Do you get the juice?
Yeah. Gotta have the juice.
Gotta have the juice, gotta have the jeans.
That's right. Yeah.
But anyway, since we're talking about that, dude, you have this impressive story that I never see you talking about, but I think could help a lot of people. And that's the thing with weight loss and how you've dealt with it. Like, could you tell us a bit about that story?
Yeah, man. So recently the scales have shown that I've lost 40 kilos, which to me seems like a huge number.
It is.
That's literally like half a person, like a decent sized person at that. Um, but yeah, it wasn't always easy. There was a lot of false starts, times where I set New Year's resolutions or goals to get back on track, and I'd fall off. But I eventually made it work. And when things started moving in the direction I wanted, it was quite consistent. There were like peaks and valleys on the graph, because I actually did like graph out my whole weight loss, and I think I've uploaded it to my as a post before, but just to show that it's not going to be linear. But when things started moving, it was actually quite linear. So I had kind of given up on losing weight for a while, because I'd tried and failed a few times, and I was just discouraged at that point. And this was after COVID, where I thought it felt like I can just eat like I'm never going to see anyone again, and I'd gained a bunch of weight. And yeah, and it was hard to reverse that, and didn't feel good about it. So it took me stopping beating myself up about it to sort of relieve a bit of that self-imposed pressure, to where then I could just slowly put one foot in front of the other and unravel some of those limiting beliefs, and really like that pressure of feeling not good enough, where I'm overweight, I'm unhealthy, I'm trying to get better, but it doesn't feel good. And I think you sort of have to let go, in a sense, or at least I did. I felt like I needed to let go of that and just feel good about myself, and then I could start moving forward. And that's what I did. I always knew what I needed to do. I always knew, you just need a calorie deficit, move a little bit, and you're good. But when I started being a little bit easier on myself, that's when I actually started seeing progress. And I'm not saying this as a recommendation. This is just how I did it. I honestly do not think that will work for everyone. Like, I truly believe there are some people that would not work for. Maybe some people work better under pressure, but like for me, I needed to sort of take my foot off the pedal a little bit before I could get moving. It was like one step back, two steps forward. So that's how things started moving forward for me.
And so after taking a little bit of the pressure, you felt more at ease, and then you could start moving. Like, did you employ any strategies to do that? How did you take the pressure off to start with?
Therapy was the big one. It was just talking things through with a professional, understanding a little bit about, and it's not understanding things that were new to me, but just having someone that I could bounce back and forth with on this stuff, and having an objective eye on, or yeah, having someone to talk to is huge. And there were two questions that I would ask myself pretty much on a nightly basis. Anytime I felt any sort of heaviness, any negative thoughts throughout the day, I would reflect on that at the end of the day, and I would ask myself two questions. When did this start? When was the first time I ever felt like this? How long has that been happening, essentially? Like, how long have I been feeling this way? Basically, like, trying to understand what's the root of this anxiety or shame or feeling of like not feeling good enough, whatever that feeling is, reflecting on that, and then also asking, what am I protecting? So like, what need is this thought pattern serving? And slowly I felt like that helped just unravel some of the ongoing narratives that I was living through, because that's what habits are. It's just a narrative that's on repeat, and you have to interrupt it. You have to interrupt the disc that's moving, and once you see through the pattern, then you can start implementing new patterns in place much easier.
Yeah, like you were saying about habits, and we have these thought processes in our minds that are kind of mind habits, if you will. And they have to do with our beliefs, our thoughts. And really, there's many things that are cultural or that we learn from our parents or someone we had as role models as kids. And we don't even remember why we do some things and why we think that way. But I think this is one of the great things about exposing yourself to different ideas, different people, different cultures, about traveling, because you start seeing that some things that we learn, don't actually make sense. They might make sense in that specific environment, but they don't necessarily make sense to everyone. And you start also accepting more how other people think, and I see there's a big divide. There are many people that are not open-minded to other ways of living, other ways of thinking. And this is causing a great divide in our society lately. Not lately, I think, but especially lately, because we have these echo chambers, these bubbles, and we tend to just read what we already think and watch videos that just reinforce the narratives in our minds. And I'm starting to deviate from your whole weight loss thing, but in the end, I think it's all interconnected in our minds, the way we think, the society we're in. Even Alex Ramosi, that's a guy that we've cited like 37 times already today. He says that one of the easiest things you can do to change everything is just move to the other side of town, because by doing that you will already have to change your habits and change the roads you take. Say, like, you go to a different shop, you see different people. Like, you don't necessarily need to move to Australia in my case, or to Brazil in your case, to have this. You can just move to the other side of town, move to a different neighborhood, and that might be enough. And yesterday in our space, there was this guy, Tim, and he was telling us that just by changing environment inside your house to work, it might be enough. Like, you might have a desk where you work, and you may take your computer to another place, to the living room maybe, and by doing this, your brain already assumes, okay, we changed the environment, so now we can change how we think. And I think that's also another thing we can do. Like, by changing the environment, we can change everything, really.
Yeah, man, and it's not deviating from the weight loss at all in my mind, because that's how I view what I did. I just changed my mental environment instead of my physical environment. But I think one follows the other, no matter what. If you change what's going up in here, things out there tend to change too, and vice versa. If you change your physical environment, usually that's going to feed back into your perspective of life, and it's going to change your mental environment. It's cyclical in that way.
Yeah, have you ever read the book Nudge?
I haven't. I don't think I've heard of that. And I read a lot of to-read book lists. I read a lot of top 100 books articles.
Dude, it's a very interesting book. I still haven't finished it, but it's been enough to see the gist of it. I'm not sure right now the name of the concept. I think it's decision architecture. So, for instance, they had this cafeteria, like, people would get lunch, and just by changing how the food was placed, the the most sold items change by a lot. Like for instance, if you put fruit at the beginning, no, I'm just confusing because it's been a long while since I read it. But if you put food next to the cashier, more fruit next to the cashier, more people will take the fruit. If you put water in an easier spot to get, more people will take water instead of soft drinks. So just by changing the layout, you change dramatically what people get. And
Yeah.
this can be done with everything, with apps, with the way we organize our house or room. So just by changing the layout, you can change dramatically the actions that people take.
Yeah, it's all about removing friction, right? Like if there's something, there's a behavior you want to promote, you identify the friction that is stopping that or hindering it, and you remove it, and you make it as easy. And something James Clear says in Atomic Habits, you make it sexy. Like, how can you make the habit you want to build sexy? Like, how do I make it exciting? Whether you tie it to some big vision that excites you, or I forget the exact um, ways that he promotes that idea, but I remember that. Like, just make it exciting in your mind, and that leads you to want to do that thing more. And if you remove friction, vice versa, it makes it easier to. So, yeah, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
Um,
like you have to make the habits you want to have easier and make the habits you don't want to have harder. So you increase the friction for those and remove the friction for the ones you do want to have.
yeah. While you were explaining that, I hope you don't mind. I have a habit of just typing things into ChatGPT to see what it says because I wanted to learn about the decision architecture framework. Um, and there's an interesting one for social nudges. People are influenced by what others do, showing that a particular behavior is common can encourage people to adopt it. It's like you can even apply that concept to the concept of like the five people you hang around with. What's the quote? You're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. It's all linked together. All of these concepts are one.
It is. And about the five people thing, we tend to think it's like literally hanging out, but today you can listen to podcasts, you can read books, you can see videos. So you can literally hang out with the top guys, with Alex Hormozy and with Elon Musk or Sam Altman, whoever you want to hang out with.
Yeah,
So
man.
you don't necessarily have to hang out with them literally right now. You can just consume their content.
Yeah,
It's like having a mentor
yeah.
that you will never meet.
Yeah, it's wild that we have all that access. We can read biographies of some great people that have lived. That's something that I'd like to do more of actually. Um, I think that's a big one. Like you can learn from direct lives of like people who've done amazing things. So I think I'd like to read more biographies and use that as like a mentor from afar um, technique, if you will. uh,
It is. It is good.
and I was talking about this a little bit in our space last night, where like mentorship doesn't have to be some formal arrangement. You can have mentorship flings too. Like if you have access to someone maybe that you work with or someone that's just a couple steps ahead of you in something, they can be your mentor in the form of you just asking them one specific question. Doesn't have to be some formal arrangement where you ask them to be your mentor and expect that they'll solve all your problems. You can be my mentor in how you have written up your spaces notes. I really like how you do that, and I asked you about that. So in that capacity, you're my mentor. I'm sure maybe I've shared stuff with you that has been valuable too. So it's like you don't have to always look at it as such a the reason why I like to think this way is because it keeps you open to opportunities for mentorship that might not fit the common mold of what you think a mentor should look like. Because I think a lot of people that you might want to be your mentor are probably too expensive, don't have the time or interest to be like your full-time mentor. Like, what's in it for them, right? So I think it's important to take a pragmatic approach to that.
Yeah, and many times you're like, how the hell do I get a mentor? Like, we tend to think of something like Master Yoda, the older guy with a lot of experience that gets the younger guy and puts him under his wing. But in real life, sometimes you won't have this kind of figure so easily. And I'm glad that we have so many possibilities today to get mentors from biographies, from books, from videos, from anything really. But of course, like you said, it doesn't have to be something super structured. It can be just by asking a question or by giving feedback, and maybe even unsolicited feedback that you get sometimes. It already is like the mentor thing already. You, at the end of the day, the mentor, he gives you feedback, he gives you a framework of the steps you have to take or that you should take. Many times you already know what steps you should be taking, but you don't. But having someone from outside come and tell you to do this will give you more accountability, because you don't want to, like, you feel bad if you don't do what they tell you to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, there are many times that you and other friends inspire me. Like when I see you in all of those spaces, I kind of get a bit of FOMO, and I'm thinking, oh, he's doing it, I need to do it too. So it's good. It's good that we inspire each other to be a bit better and challenge ourselves.
Yeah, man. That's one thing that I love that Danco encourages. Like, hang around with people that are like similar size to you, and you grow together. You see that happen. Like, there's classes. Like, there's like I've basically grown up with YouTube. You see, actually, let's go back even further beyond this, like solopreneur creator stuff. When I first went on YouTube, it was to watch Call of Duty videos. And you'd see people collaborating with each other, and they would grow their channels at a similar pace. And it would be like, okay, this is the current class of COD YouTubers. And then maybe they stop making videos after a while, or they get so famous that they stop collaborating with people. Then you get like a new class. And I feel like that happens in all of these like online communities. Like, people grow together, and you kind of have to ride a wave together. Like, it's a nice way of looking at things, I think, when you're jumping in as a newbie and you don't know anyone. You
Yeah.
make coffee?
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Hey, what are you doing? You're finagling your coffee machine?
Yeah, fucking coffee machine got stuck, like the
Nice.
capsule.
Nice.
Sorry about that, man.
No,
But
you're
yeah,
good.
you were talking about the YouTube, and I was thinking how it changed from when it first started. It was so amateurish, and now you have Mr. Beast putting in like $1 million a video, and it's like a Hollywood movie for a 5-minute video, 20-minute video. And sometimes we think that we need to put out these fantastic things like the big guys do. But at the end of the day, like we were talking about the spaces, people just crave for connection. So you might not have the best video ever, but if you have the message that comes across well, like we always talk about Hamza, and his videos are shit. it seems like he just gets his phone and starts talking to the camera.
Do you mean
But
production quality, or do you mean the content as well? You throw on shots?
oh no, no, production quality.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not going into the content. But it's like he just pops in his phone. But there are many millions of guys that love him because of the message. They want the message. They don't care if he has a professional camera or a cell phone.
Yeah, what you're talking about is talking head videos. Yeah, they blow up if you if you speak to people in a way that resonates, and like Hamza's captured like feels like lightning in a bottle. It was like perfect timing. I think he blew up during COVID. And yeah, he was speaking a message that young guys needed at the time. Yeah, I think you're right. Like production value doesn't need to be there at the start. But YouTube is a game that I don't really understand, even though I consume it a lot. In terms of actually creating for YouTube, I don't get it. Like I don't know how a new YouTuber sets themselves apart without creating crazy quality. Like to me, if I was to jump on YouTube tomorrow, or if someone hired me as a YouTube consultant with zero experience for some reason, and they wanted my advice, my theory would be you need to like stack like a bunch of unfair advantages in your favor. Like talk about a topic that you know really well, create amazing thumbnails, go high production value as much as you can, like to stack the odds of success in your favor, I mean. And yeah, but I don't know, like you see a new YouTuber pop up and you're like, oh, it makes sense that he's blowing up. Like the thumbnails just hit, the title is just, it resonates to like where the zeitgeist is at, and it's something interesting and novel. Like it brings a new perspective, but it's a familiar enough topic for people to actually be interested in it. And the execution of the video, they're holding attention span, and it's like musical. Like I've studied editing a little bit, so like I nerd about it. I can nerd out about this stuff, but this is actually something. Yeah, get your coffee. Time zone difference. You need that coffee to wake you up, and I'm getting ready to like go to bed soon.
Fucking 14 hours.
I'm in the future. What can I say?
Yeah, you're almost tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, what was I saying?
About the quality of the videos and
Yeah.
popping up as a new YouTuber.
Yeah, like you see a new YouTuber pop up into the scene sometimes, and it's like, oh, this just makes sense. Like the video is just hitting on all grounds. Having this conversation is making me think, not to get shiny object syndrome, but like I should focus more attention there, because I feel excited talking about this.
You do. I can see your little eyes glowing.
Yeah.
But dude, I think you might be overcomplicating it. And it's very normal we do this because we see the finished product. So we see that awesome video and we think, wow, that guy's a natural. That editing is top notch. He speaks so well to the camera. But many times the guy, it might not be his first channel. It might not be his first video. Many times when their videos start getting traction and they start putting out better videos, they just delete the other ones or put them as unlisted. So sometimes we overthink stuff. We see the finished product, we see Lewis Hamilton, and we think, wow, I need a Formula One car to race. No, you need to get a go-kart and start getting the fundamentals right. Then you can get better and better, get the micro levers, stack them.
Yeah,
but
you're
you
absolutely
won't.
right.
Like Michael Phelps wasn't born that way. Like he sort of was, but you get what I mean.
I do.
He
There's a lot
started
of
competing when
practice.
he was a kid, and it was years and years.
You got to put in the reps.
you got to put in the reps,
Yeah.
and unless you, of course, if you're like Jeff Bezos's kid and daddy can pay for the professional camera and the professional studio and the
The script
professional,
writers and
yeah, everything.
experts, yeah.
But anyway, you still have to talk to the camera. So
That's true. Yeah. I'd be curious to see that would be a fun experiment. Get someone with absolutely zero charisma, a volunteer. Kidding. Let's not self-deprecate too much, but
no,
but,
you don't have zero charisma, man.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, but like, imagine like you put someone with zero charisma in front of a camera, and optimize everything else about that video. And I'm curious how it would do.
Would still be
like,
shit.
I'm really curious. I would just. I'm sure you're right, but I would like to see that. I
Dude,
wonder.
it could blow up because it would be so weird to have like this awesome production quality and a totally uncharismatic person. So it could be like, could become like a meme.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone would watch it because they actually liked it. It will be because they think it's funny because look at this guy. He has no fucking charisma.
That would be the
But it
shtick,
would be
maybe.
like a meme. Yeah, it could
Yeah.
be. It could be. Or maybe you could have this really charismatic dude playing the part of someone with no charisma. I think that could work better, actually.
Well, that's not unpopular. Like, actually, a podcast that's blown up recently, Millie Altoth or something Altoth. You know that girl? She did a podcast
No.
with Drake.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
She had Mark Cuban on. Like, she got a bunch of celebrities on. I'm pretty sure her last name is Altoth or something like that. Anyway, she blew up recently, and her whole shtick is that she's awkward. She's like an awkward interviewer. People love that. Like, it's a form of comedy. So yeah, I can see that working.
Yeah, I saw hers with Drake, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know your music" or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Drake's this guy who thinks he's God, and
Yeah.
that must have gotten into his ego.
Yeah. No, that I think I watched most, if not all, the interview. It was actually it's a good pod. It's a good pod, but yeah, I think production value probably can't make up for lack of enthusiasm about the topic, or at least interest. But I'd be really curious to see if it can. Like, think about
Dude.
this is something I actually want to try now. Like, I want to see if it's possible to assemble like an Avengers of YouTubers and put together like a great video, but the person presenting is just not into it at all. I'd be really curious what that looks like.
I think that could blow up for the meme factor. But also, imagine if we could get some very charismatic dude, like maybe a Marlon Brando, and you could give him a cheap phone to film, and it will blow up anyways because the guy's that good.
True. This is actually probably a good YouTube video idea. Like, I'm thinking of a title. Like, I hired a YouTube mastermind to make my first video or something like that. I could imagine that as a potential title. I don't know what the other end of that would be, where Marlon Brando talks into a camera.
Dude,
I tried YouTube to see if it could work. I don't know.
you should connect to one of those guys, maybe Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and have them make a small video for us. That would be great.
Slide into our DMs, dudes.
Yeah, George Clooney. If you want to feature, you can be the second one here. Redim was the first because he's more important. But
yeah, George Clooney. I know that I'm a hard act to follow, but I will vouch for Gabe. I think you'd enjoy his podcast.
I think he has a finger or two to talk about, especially about coffee, because he's the face of a brand.
Maybe he could help you with your coffee machine.
Yeah, maybe he could. He could.
Did you sort it out, or were you just making another cup?
Oh no, I did sort it out. It
Yeah.
just got stuck. But I had to go up and like like do this.
Yeah, just smack it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fitting. George Clooney would be a perfect second guest. We should get this out to his team. I
Yeah.
reckon he'd
I
be
hope
interested.
his yeah, I hope his assistant can DM me and or actually DM my assistant, right?
Look, if George Clooney, if your assistant doesn't DM Gabe's assistant, I'm not saying to fire your assistant, but I'm just saying that it's costing you a lot of business. And I honestly, I don't think Nespresso would be happy about it. That's our message to you, George.
Dude, they will be happy because you just gave them billions of dollars in ad revenue.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You, you have to come now because we just bought your contract, George.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we have him in our pockets now.
You have
Fuck
no
George
choice.
Just kidding. Just kidding. George sounds like a good guy.
I'm sure he is.
He has this dad aura.
He seems like he'd be a wise dude. I'm sure he'd drop a lot of bangers on episode 2 of your podcast.
Yeah, we could drink his tequila.
He does have a
After a
tequila,
couple
doesn't he?
shots. Yeah, I think he already sold it, but it was like a billionaire thing. Also, Ryan Reynolds is like this mastermind of marketing. Have you ever seen that?
He's got Mint Mobile, I think. Is it Mint Mobile?
Yeah,
He has a mobile carrier. And he has some drink as well, right?
pretty sure it was tequila as well. Or let me check. Ryan Reynolds drink.
Yeah, he's making the most of that celebrity status, man.
No, he's very good. And let's see, Ryan Reynolds,
I want to know who his
aviation
business
gin.
manager is. I'd be curious if like he has a team that appears on podcasts or anything like that. Be curious to do a bit of research on that. Because yeah, he's built like a little mini empire. And he's Deadpool.
Yeah, he's Deadpool. His wife is Serena Von whatever.
uh, who's that? I'm not
Blake
familiar.
Lively.
That's right, but what did you call her? Serena Von.
Serena, yeah, you
Is
know
that
Gossip
some?
Girl.
I don't know Gossip Girl. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was this chick, this rich chick on Gossip Girl.
Interesting.
Or Serena Vanderwoodson. Very Upper East Side-ish
Aha,
last name.
this makes sense.
Yeah, I used to.
Used to be into Gossip Girl, Gabe.
Dude, when I got into college, they used to play it at around like 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, something like that. And sometimes when I came back from parties, I would still be half drunk and I would be eating something and watching Gossip Girl.
You're living your white girl moments.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
that's
just a
nice.
basic bitch at
Yeah.
that time.
Basic bitch Gossip Girl days.
Yeah, but I didn't really like Serena. I liked Blair better. It was like her friend slash rival.
What is she on the tier list? B, C, A tier, S tier.
Oh, I can't say that because Ryan won't like me anymore if I.
I was
Re-
hoping, I was thinking maybe we could turn this into a quick Gossip Girl tier list.
Oh, in terms of character, Serena
Yeah.
would be like a B at best.
Mid.
Blair would be an S.
No, Blair is not Blake Lively. That's Serena. That's right.
No, it's what's her name? Leighton Meester.
Doesn't ring a bell. Maybe-
Yeah, you didn't watch Gossip
Yeah.
Girl. That's why it doesn't ring a bell.
I feel like I have a decent almost encyclopedic knowledge of actors though.
Yeah, but I think it was her biggest part, so that's why you wouldn't know her.
Well, I have homework
You
to do
know,
then.
you know that song "Good Girls Gone Bad"? I
By who?
think it was Cobra Starship.
Uh, the name and artist rings a bell, but I don't remember what it sounds like at all.
Oh yeah, because she features on the song. That's why
Ah, okay.
I remember that. But anyways, Ryan, your wife is awesome. You can come to the show. Please don't hate me for saying her part was a B tier.
So we've got look, I think people following your podcast are going to be pretty underwhelmed after you follow me with George Clooney and Ryan Reynolds, but I'm glad that you're putting together a plan to move forward.
You know, I have to give a chance to the small guys out there. They're just starting.
I admire
They
that
need,
about you.
yeah, I like this. I like
You're always
to
looking
get
out for the little
these
guy.
kids. Yeah, those kids starting out, they need a chance, man.
They might be
You
huge
know,
one day, and then you can say, I had them on when they were nothing but what they are now.
dude, that's what I talk about when I talk about Alex Ramosi. I remember him as a kid when he
Yeah.
first came to me.
You guys go way back.
Yeah, man, we go way back, and you know he still hated his dad when he came to me, and he said
Yeah.
he didn't do it on purpose, man. Think about his life story. And Alex, I'm very proud of that guy. That kid is very good. He's very hardworking, man.
Alex Hormozy, you owe all of your success to Gabe, but I'm also proud of you.
No, man, not all of it. He put in the work.
He did?
He owes just 90% to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm
The
glad
other 10 was the work.
That's really generous of you, to be fair. I would
You
take
know,
more
I am a
credit.
generous guy, man. I'm a generous guy. And I'm happy to have someone on my tier today because it's hard to find someone on my tier.
Yeah,
I'm glad
man.
you made it.
Dude, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Um, I've always wanted to get behind the mind of the mentor of Alex Hormozy, so this has been, an absolute just
You're too humble, man.
value buckets on buckets of value.
Dude, you're being too humble, man. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, no, look, honestly, like to get to know Alex Hormozy's mentor is just means a lot.
Yeah, I know. Grant Cardone was so jealous because he was his second mentor, not his first. And then Russell Brunson was the third. But they're all mentees of mine as well, so what can I do?
I think the world deserves to know this.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's why we're spilling the beans. Everyone needs to know this.
Yeah. We're spilling the beans an hour and 30 deep. But people who made it
Dude,
this far, you have been rewarded with sacred knowledge.
and you know we should tell them the secret how we got where we got. And if it wasn't for the micro lever concept, we wouldn't have gotten here, man.
Yeah, the micro lever concept. Okay, to get serious again.
What do you mean serious? Weren't we?
I think that bit went on for a while, but if we're gonna talk about the micro lever concept, we have to get real serious. It's a very solemn topic. Yeah. So actually, yesterday in our space, Dave said something. He has these lists on Twitter, and he says he uses an empathetic language framework to make the habit seem more appealing to him. I guess this is a way to link back to Atomic Habits, like make it sexy, right? So micro leverage to me is a concept that I came up with to make the process of growing on X more achievable, like just to chunk down the little steps. So the idea is people are on social media to gain leverage. Naval Ravikant says this a lot. Basically, you want to create a system where the product that you create is at zero cost of replication, and getting popular on social media, getting on YouTube or Twitter or whatever it is, and having a fan base is like the ultimate leverage. But to get there, you need to exercise micro leverage. So the idea is like in a video game, you start with a really small lever and you trade it up for a bigger one and a slightly bigger one, and until you reach the point that you're trying to get to, right? So the micro leverage when you're starting out, you have to put that front and center to get to the next thing, right? So that is being a reply guy, getting on spaces, putting out value posts 1 to 2 times a day. What else? Am I missing anything? I think that's and connecting
Did
with
you
people.
talk about? Yeah. I think that would be the first one on my list.
Yeah.
You find a small group of friends that you start connecting with and talking to every now and then. And I think being a reply guy to these guys at first, actually, because before you start making a connection with someone, you're just a reply guy. So by having this small group and start to replying to each other, and then you start, like you said, you get a bigger lever as time goes on. And after that, of course, you have to have a baseline of good content, which also comes with time because you have to put in the reps. But after that, I think Spaces is the biggest lever you can have. If you have a decent profile and if you have a few friends to reply to, go to Spaces. Because in Spaces you can get, like, there are spaces where there are hundreds of people. So if you talk in one space like that and you talk well and your profile is decent, many people will follow you after. And you also get to know some bigger accounts out there with Spaces. Like, you became friends with Greg, who has like, what, 30,000 followers, something like that?
I wouldn't say that I'm friends with Greg.
Oh, but you're acquainted. He knows who you are, and
I mean, he's seen me around, but I get what you're saying. Like, you get access to people that you. Yeah, I had to throw in that correction. I don't want to be presumptuous.
well, I got that. I mean, it looked like you became friends with them. Like, at least they know who you are.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I've made friends in that circle, definitely. Like, there are some guys that are in Greg's spaces a lot that I'm now acquainted with. So definitely, and that's how the network builds. Like, you make friends and they have other connections, and you can sort of share your audience with each other, like in an organic way via spaces. Because I see someone who I've met in one space, in another space, and then I go in there and maybe I make friends with the hosts of that space, and that's how it kind of sort of begins to spread like wildfire.
yeah, and it's much easier to connect with people through Spaces because you're talking to them. You can get a feel for their personality. It's not like if you just reply to a post, they can't even know your tone. It's much easier on Spaces to do this.
Yeah, it's the most intimate way. Audio is way more intimate than video too, because your senses are honed in and you're listening to someone in your ear and you're focusing on their voice. It's like being on the phone with them. So that there's an intimacy to it that you don't get from a Twitter post or even a video message or a Zoom call. That is powerful, man. Like it's the best micro lever, I think.
Yeah, I think with video sometimes you can get distracted. There's too much information.
Yeah,
And on audio you just focus on what the person's saying, on the tone of voice, the cadence.
I'm curious. How many spaces? Be honest. How many spaces have you listened to after they've been recorded? Because I've never listened to a full space after it's been recorded.
Me neither.
So
Me neither.
I kind of like that though. Like
That
it's
you don't listen to them after, or that they are recorded.
yeah, like for me they might as well not be recorded because it's like it's not the place for evergreen content. Maybe you can repurpose it. I'm not saying it might not be, but in its current form, I think that kind of helps with keeping it like low pressure, chill environment. What do you think?
Well, I don't overthink it. It being recorded, like if it's something I just thought about. Maybe we could have on our profiles like a button just for the spaces so they can see, oh, all the spaces Redim has been a host of. I think they could easily do that. And that would be good to make it a little bit more evergreen because it really is hard to find. Like,
You have to
to be
scroll through
honest,
someone's timeline.
yeah, to be honest, everything about spaces is very amateurish.
Yeah,
You can get that patchy code feel. You
yeah,
can even find your own spaces. Like you have to look. Like I had to go onto that group of us to look for
yeah.
my own link to start the space. So, but I think one thing that is missing that I still haven't figured out, maybe there's some outsider tool, is that you can't download the space. Because if we could, at least we could repurpose it and put it on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that.
I believe you can download the space. I'm actually let me check this live. I created a request to download my Twitter archive because there was one space that I named that had a problematic name, I think. Actually, let's be clear. So I made a space called ChatGPT dead question mark, and it was like a clickbait title, and then I realized that my account may have become deboosted, and I thought maybe that would be why, because of the word dead, but I don't think that is the case anymore. So Blaze told me that Twitter or X and Spaces are treated like an external link because it's Periscope code. So they're two separate things, and the name of your space shouldn't actually affect your like account status in the way that maybe a post would, right? So I don't know if that was the reason why my account took a hit, but anyway, so because of that, I created a request to download the space just so I could have it for my records, and I wanted to delete it from my profile just in case it was doing something that it shouldn't, which I haven't done yet, but I received a notification saying that it's ready to download because it takes a little bit. So live here, we're going to find out whether you can actually download a space.
But anyways, it's too hard, I think. It's too much work. You have to request and then you have to.
Yeah, it's not intuitive. Like there's no download button.
Yeah, they should have a download button, at least for the host of the space.
Yeah, that you'd think that that's a pretty intuitive feature that needs to exist, but apparently not.
Yeah, and I'm not sure like how we could do this because of course we need to let people know that we're recording it and going to repost it elsewhere. I'm not sure how we could do that if it was downloadable.
Maybe you wouldn't need to, right? Because that would just play into your marketing strategy. Like your overall content strategy, I mean. Like you wouldn't say if you were recording this podcast, you would post about it the same way you would your space. Like you'll just treat it as an additional piece of content to repurpose.
Yeah, but do you think we like because people would come in and talk, and do we have to tell them?
Well, spaces are recorded anyway, so
So you think there won't be any legal repercussions if we do that?
um, look, I am a lawyer, so no, I'm not, but
Really?
um, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so. Like, think about Twitch. Like, people know that a Twitch live stream is being live streamed, but then there's the general understanding that it may end up on YouTube, like because once it's on the internet, it's out there for everyone to see, right? So I think maybe it's more of like a content policy thing. Is X okay with you uploading that footage elsewhere? And are you okay with, like, say if I decided to download your space and upload it on YouTube or Spotify, I wonder if there's a way that you could like sue me for uploading your space or something. I don't know. But I don't think there should be a problem with you repurposing your own content.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could like get a copyright violation thing
Yeah.
if someone put on your stuff without your consent. But yeah, it's good to know, man. It's good to know. It would be so much easier. We have so much content from our spaces that we could put on Spotify, for instance.
Well, I was thinking there could be nice clips. I don't know if the full space would be interesting listening for people. Just because of the format. Like, when we're in the space, we see who is talking. And I feel like having it as an audio only experience would detract from that. I don't know, maybe it could be cool, but maybe with a timeline, like if you had bookmarks like you do on YouTube, like chapters, that could be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm having trouble finding the X archive email, but you can Google it. When I find out, I'll let you know.
You know, man, I think I know why X deboosted you.
Why is that?
Because you were bringing so much value that their servers were getting overwhelmed. So they had to deboost, or else.
I think so
like,
too. That's my theory. I didn't want to say it out loud because I feel like a douchebag, but yeah,
Yeah, you're a humble guy after all.
I am extremely humble, dude, and as someone that is humble, I'm always willing to be correct, and in this case, I'll do just that, and I'll say that is definitely the reason why my account was deboosted.
Dude, I don't know how you do it. Like, you're such a great guy, such a valuable man, such an alpha male leader, and you're still humble.
Yeah,
It's baffling to me.
We're just out here giga chatting it up.
Yeah, man. Like,
Yeah, fun times.
girls, please put your pants back on. I'm taken already. But I think Redim is not. If you want to slide into the DMs.
Can
So, man, what about future projects? You have learn.com, and that's your current idea, your newsletter, your future podcast and YouTube. What are your ideas going on?
Yeah, man. So with learn.com, that's an idea that I had for a software that I was kind of working on, and I'm not. I'll get into that. But as for future projects, I'm figuring it out. Like I don't really have a plan. I don't have like a 3-month roadmap. I'm just taking it one step at a time on X. Content creation, maybe a podcast down the line. Who knows? Right now I'm trying to be consistent with the newsletter. and just being active on X. But Learn is, I have an interesting story about that. So, you know this, but basically it's a platform that I had in mind that I wanted to build where online educators could create courses where when you're watching a lesson, there would be a personalized learning feature in the form of AI chatbot trained on the transcript from the lesson that you're watching, with the idea being that it's easier to scrub through it and find specific information you want, which is especially useful for if you've already seen it or if you're reviewing it for just one bit of information. I had the chance to be in a space with Sam Parr from the podcast My First Million, who's someone whose opinion I value quite a bit, and he kind of tore the idea to shreds, respectfully. He did the napkin math for me and basically told me that like companies like that, like Gumroad, Kajabi, they take a small cut of the transaction and it's not really a profitable type of company to run. So I'm in the process of pivoting that. I think I might work on a Chrome extension version of that instead. But I haven't really made much progress on that. So I don't know to what degree I will continue working on Learn.com. But I had my little mini Shark Tank moment. And now I can say that I've spoken to Sam Parr. So I will forever be name dropping Sam Parr now.
Dude, that's one of the things only spaces can give you.
Yeah.
That experience of being dropped in the Shark Tank. And that was awesome. I'm proud of you, man, really, that you got that experience. And do you think on the concept of micro levers, what have you learned, even if you don't go through with it, what have you learned with this experience of trying to build a platform and rethinking if this is the best idea or not? What have you learned so far?
I've learned like a few technical skills. Like I've learned how LangChain works, which is maybe I haven't learned how it works because I'm I'm realizing that I probably can't explain it, and Feynman would say that means I don't understand it. But I've learned how the LangChain and Pinecone stack works, which is a way to get AI to read concepts rather than words like a normal database works. And you'd have like concept mapping instead of just like a normal database where Yelp would have rows and tables. There's a way to make AI understand. I realize I'm not explaining this well at all, but basically I came into understanding of a lot of these different types of tech stacks that could probably use for future projects if I wanted to. I have the tutorials all bookmarked and like I could just go in and plug and play if I needed to. That's pretty cool. In terms of lessons, I don't know. I guess that you can always pivot. Like you don't need to be stubborn and stick to a project if you don't think it's going to work anymore. Not to encourage shiny object syndrome, but like there's nothing wrong with pivoting. Like you're still bringing your experiences along, and who knows where your previous experience will be handy in the future. Like Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots looking backward. So that's the mentality that I'm trying to keep front of mind. So I don't know, but I trust that the experience may be valuable. Who knows?
I'm sure it will, and I see you putting yourself out there and building new skills every day. So I'm pretty sure you'll find the shiny objects in your Golden Gumball.
Yeah.
You'll hit the jackpot eventually, I'm sure.
We'll see. I'm just having a good time right now, man. So it's like I'm in the exploration phase of creatorship, if that's a word.
Yeah, like you told me the other day, it's like we're living the dream of sorts.
Yeah, like we are we have access to a community that is growing, and we're able to contribute to it in what feels like a meaningful way. We're building real connections with real people. Like that's literally the dream. um,
Yeah.
and not to say that there's not more work to be put into it, but it's pretty cool.
Oh,
I
there's a
dig it.
lot of work, and I think that's exciting, to be
It is.
honest, to imagine all the things we can accomplish. And not only are we building connections with people, but they are also great people.
They are.
They're very interesting people, very intelligent people with a lot of skills, and we can learn from each other. We can inspire each other, motivate each other, and I think this has been the best part so far. Like, to be honest, I didn't go through 20% of the Dan Co cohort thing, but just because of the friends I've made so far, it's been definitely worth it.
Yeah, dude. Um, I also have barely made a dent in the curriculum. uh, Getting there though, it's a big course. But yeah, dude, like the community alone is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, you got the complete course, so I think you'll never finish it. I just have the
Perhaps
sprint
not.
one.
Yeah, you just have the solopreneur calls, right?
Yeah, the sprint
Yeah,
with the four calls, and it has like 12 calls in total, and
you'll
the
get through
Notion
it.
templates.
Treat them like podcasts.
Yeah, I should, because I try to treat them like a class and take notes, but maybe if I just listen to them, it could be useful.
The good thing is they come with the PDFs, so you can always review the knowledge later if you needed
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Yeah, maybe I should stop being stubborn with the taking notes thing and just listen to it a little bit.
And you can re-listen, and I've listened to a few of the solopreneur sprint calls like 2 or 3 times. The ones that I felt like I needed to go back to. So like that's always an option.
Yeah, I think I'll do just that and try to listen to them again.
Yeah.
Well, Red, to wrap this up, if you could go back in time, like 10 years ago, and give yourself a 1 and 2 minutes pep talk, what would you tell him?
10 years ago. What was I doing 10 years ago? I was in high
Yeah,
school.
like you're finishing high school,
I
like
was
your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
yeah, so I would have been 26 sorry, 16 or 17. So I would have been in year 10. That was kind of an awkward phase of my life, and I think I went through it just fine. I don't know if I would tell myself much. Probably just not to worry too much. Things will turn out alright, dude. Like, just relax a little bit. As corny as it is, yeah, I'd keep it simple. I wouldn't want to mess with the timeline.
You think things are good the way they turned out then?
Yeah. I don't like to mess with fate much. That's my thinking anyway. Sorry to give you a
I know what.
cop out answer, but that's truly how I feel about like giving advice to your past self. The one thing that really would help is like just relax. Like you're gonna be fine. That's the big thing. That's what I would
Don't
want future self to tell me now too. So
don't overthink it. Just
yeah,
do it.
yeah, Nike.
Yeah. I do. I tell your past self one thing though. Start the fucking YouTube channel now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
You'd have blown up already for sure.
maybe, but it's all about priorities, right? So when it's a big enough priority, then it will.
I think it will come soon enough.
Maybe. We'll see.
2024 has a lot to promise you.
Perhaps. I have an open
I'll get
mind.
my friend Ryan Reynolds to help you a bit.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think I need it.
Yeah,
Right, hit me
he
up.
knows a thing or two about filmmaking, so
Yeah,
he can give you some
does.
tips.
For sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dude, thank you so much for being my first. We're not virgins anymore,
We are not.
and I appreciate this.
Thank you for having
If
me.
you
bro.
guys want a ton of value from a shadow banned account, follow my friend at Redim Ameti. And I hope to see you again on our spaces. We do them every Wednesday and Thursday. We're doing it today, right?
Yeah, it's Friday morning for me, for the Australian folks.
Yeah, so every Wednesday night, Friday morning for Australia, every Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You can find us on Spaces and follow us on X. It's our main platform, and also follow our newsletters.
Links in
Follow
bios.
Redim on his newsletter. What's the name, Redim, so far?
Yeah, it's just Redim Ameti Substack. So easy to find. If you hit me up on X, it'll be the link in my bio.
Yeah. Thanks, Red. Appreciate
Thank you, Gabe.
you coming. Always nice to have you, man.
Peace.
Peace.